know. I love it. I love that we found this. This is great.
The energy is so much different having you with me. I'm like, oh, I really felt like I was getting started.
Kind of feeling like you're talking to yourself.
Oh, yeah. You know what? True that. True that. So,
Oh yeah, that's us.
oh, good. Hey, you guys, welcome to Ask a Medium. You have access to two mediums here, and you can ask us almost anything. I just put almost in there just in case you ask me something really wacky. No, I'm kidding, totally kidding. But hey, I'm Jessica Tanselle, and I am a psychic medium local here in Louisville, Kentucky. I have known that I've been a medium for 10 years and have been working and teaching for the past, I think, 4 to 5 years, which has been such a blessing in my life. My background is really in dental hygiene. So this is a career change for me, and I'm super grateful to be here with Molly.
Hello, everybody. My name is Molly Maloney. I am also an evidential medium and intuitive empath. Very, very excited to be here. I've also been a medium my entire life. Jessica and I have been on similar paths. I found out, I guess, about 7 to 10 years ago that I was a medium and have been doing development and teaching ever since that time. So really excited to be here. Very, very excited to see your questions, all of the things you wanted to know but may have been afraid to ask about being a medium. We're here to answer all of your questions.
Okay. So we have a couple people that have commented here. And so I'm looking at my phone, Molly. I'm sorry. I'm like back and forth trying to get that up and going. So,
no, I'm the same thing. I'm looking at my iPad here, watching the comments.
Perfect. Hey, Debbie Grassman, fellow medium. We're so glad you're here. What questions you got, girl? Go for it. Julie. Hello, Julie. Hello, Chrissy. And hello, Michelle. Hey, you guys. So while you all are figuring out questions that you want to ask, I'll just share, how I figured out that I was a medium, if that works for you, Molly. You cool?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So my first message came for me when I was taking a shower one day, and I just had this random thought, and it was, hey, Jessica, tell your mom I love her. And I'm sorry I wasn't there for her. And I was like, well, that's a weird way to think to yourself. And then I just knew who it was and what had happened. So I called my mom and I was like, so this happened. And she said, Jessica, I got that message 5 years ago from a friend of ours in town. If you all know Marilyn Gaddy, she's a fantastic psychic in town. And she had given her that message with the letter M. And my mom said, I thought it was my brother. It was the letter M. Makes sense. I said, nope. Like, I just knew. I was like, that is not who it was. Like, it is Mark. It is her cousin. They were very close. He passed tragically, and I was able to give her that message, 8 months before she passed tragically. So it was like perfect timing. And just like I said earlier, Molly, I don't know if you listened to my video earlier, but I was like, sometimes divine timing. Molly was not meant to have that tonight. And maybe it's just so we have this amped up energy, but
right.
I really ignored it for years, but that day I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, this has been happening my entire life.
Right.
I've been talking myself this my entire life. And I remember like I can picture it being in the room on Eastern Parkway, which, by the way, my childhood house is up for sale. I'm so tempted to buy it. Anyway, but
how could you not be?
Put the covers over my head because I didn't want to see what I was feeling, but I didn't recognize it as a kid. When did you recognize it?
It was really a long process because I had always been drawn to, the paranormal and ghosts and ghost stories, and was always feeling things, around me, just like you were. And one of the things that I had been experiencing from the time that I was a child was that I was seeing, most specifically, people. Instead of images of places and events, but very specifically, people pop into my head in crystal clear detail for no reason.
Hmm.
One of the ones that I remember very clearly, right as I was really starting to question and starting to understand, my brain was starting to open to the idea that there was something, there was something unusual happening with me, that was maybe a medium type of experience. I was driving. I'm also local here in Louisville, and I was driving down 71 coming into town, and I passed under the Gene Snyder. And as soon as I passed under that highway, just this image slammed into my head of this. It was a professional studio portrait, black and white, probably late 40s, early 50s, of this beautiful woman. I can even still see the cherries on her lapel, just so clearly. And again, I'm driving to work, and I'm listening to the radio. My mind wasn't, thinking about anything, but it just popped into my head so clearly. And I was talking to my mother one day, and I thought, that this is just how people's brains work. It's just random things that people's minds did. I was talking with my mother one weekend, and she's like, I don't know. I had this baby pop into my head out of nowhere. I don't know whose baby that was, but it certainly was weird. And started to talk to her and realizing that that isn't something that happens to people usually. So that was kind of my experience where the light finally came on.
Yeah. That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. So I'm going to say hi to a few more people here.
Absolutely.
All right. Hello, Kim. Hello, Treva. Hello, Cindy. Hello, Shara. And hello, Karen and Haley. So we have a question from Christy. Christy said, I heard my father years after he passed ask me a direct question. Then a few times after, I would be woken up from a deep sleep by a man's voice calling my name, not my father. I can share an experience for me that I've had that, and usually those twilight times, like right before, like right as you're going into or coming out of a sleep, I feel like that clairaudient is sometimes right outside rather than that inner hearing. And I've heard my voice, my father's voice in my left ear, and my mom's in my right, like right outside. And I just said, okay, listen, can we not do that in the dark?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
but it was interesting. It took me a minute to realize that I was like, I recognize this voice, and then it like I know this voice, and then it connected. But this is interesting with it not being your father. I wonder if it's another loved one or a guide.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I agree. Those kind of half asleep, that those twilight spaces are really, really potent for spirit communication. I don't hear as much. I will hear occasionally, but there's times that I'll be laying in bed and I'll have my eyes closed, and it's literally like flipping through a photo album. I'll just see, picture of just all of these random people I've never seen before. So yeah, it's a very potent time for communication for sure, because you're settling down and your mind is quiet. You're in a space where you are open and able to receive. It's like being in a waiting room, waiting. You're just kind of prepared and available.
Yeah. And it's hard to get into that space sometimes too. Like I was listening to I was in a virtual summit today listening to someone about the masculine and the feminine energy, and also listening to someone talk about how important it is to slow down, because right before bed and right when we wake up are when we're most connected to the divine.
Yeah.
Like spiritually connected. So, and we're constantly, and me, I'm not judging anybody, but I'm like, I'm gonna need my phone until I fall asleep, and it's like falling on me.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, let me see what's going on my phone. And I really want to make a practice to help myself, like not be so attached to that, but because that is a spiritual time. And then Christy replied back, she said, I agree. It didn't scare me. I just didn't know what the voice wanted. So I took it as a cue to get up and pray for whomever needed it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that really is.
I tend to ask and be curious too. Like if something happens, or I'm in a reading, or I'm getting messages on myself, or feeling, even down to my anxiety that I feel sometimes, I'll acknowledge what I'm feeling or hearing, and then I'll be like, but why? or,
Right.
asking. So the prayer is fantastic. And I will get more curious and be like, okay, who is this? What do I need to know? What message do you have for me? And you can get that clairaudiently or clairvoyantly, but you could also get up an automatic right to get that information out too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Cindy says, I get lots of pictures when I'm laying down relaxing, but they go so fast that I can't really tell what they are or mean. What do you think about that, Molly?
Honestly, I have that experience often myself. What I have done is and sometimes I'm so deep in that state, it's hard to kind of sit back up into it. And I've also noticed too that, you know, sitting back up to start to pay attention, like the energy will shift and it will stop. So it is, I think there's a moment there, there's like a sweet spot where you can sit up and lean in to start to pay further attention. You can set the awareness around, um, set the intention around trying to become more deeply connected with the things that you are seeing. And there's still times when those images flash in front of my face so quickly that I can't really gauge. And I think that is, that's probably always going to happen. But there are moments where I feel like I can find that sweet spot, and it's not only me being in the right place, but that energy also meeting me in that place where I can start to feel like I'm at least able to see them. I'm able to, connect on a deeper level by being able to see who I'm looking at, even if it's only for a split second.
Yeah. We have a couple more comments here. Let's see. Oh, hello. Okay. So, Michelle asked, do you guys ever walk by people uh, out when we're out and pick up messages? Uh, every now and again I do, but I typically, if that happens to me personally, I ask the spirit to guide them to a medium.
Hmm.
And it's not often that I do because I feel like I can turn it off and on and become aware or not aware because my mind is going a million miles a minute. I mean, to be honest. So I feel like I can not have to focus on that when I'm out and about, and that doesn't happen often to me. But that's my guidance on that. I don't know. What do you think about that, Molly?
Um, Excuse me. It's certainly something that has happened in the past. And it's something that I especially would get information empathically, psychically about the person.
Mhm.
And I got to the place where I realized that I was invading, even though it wasn't really intentional. I didn't go out in public with the intention of dipping into everybody's energy, but I was still doing it, and that it was kind of an invasion. So, um, in order to, I believe very firmly in not reading without permission. And so I started to set up not, not concrete walls, because I still like to, I like to feel energy around me, but, I don't want to be completely closed up. I'm not even sure I'd know how to function if I completely tried to close myself off. But, setting it again, the attention, the intention around, not getting into personal space where I haven't been given specific permission.
That's something I talk about often. Like, it is an ethical boundary. It
Hmm.
just is. Like, even if with Molly and I, when we get together, I'm not going to tap into her and figure out what's going on. I'm going to ask her because she didn't give me permission to read her and get real in depth. But when people set an appointment with me, I I have that permission to read
Hmm.
them, but I still wait until their session. So it is important. So if you are doing that, like finding your boundaries, I feel like is really important, and you want that anyway because going around and feeling everybody's feelings is a lot.
It's exhausting. It really, really is. So it's about protecting your own energy as well as it is about protecting everybody else's. And there was a thing that I wanted to say. It just dropped in my head about. about that. We'll see if it comes back.
Okay.
It just evaporated.
Jen Coyle, we love you. I'm so glad you're here.
Yay!
And then let me remind myself who this comment is from here. Okay. Hi, I have an odd experience sometimes. If I'm more relaxed, and especially if I've meditated before bed, as I get nearer to sleep, it's like I'm picking up conversations, like voices talking to each other, but I can't understand or don't remember what I'm hearing. Sometimes it's like I'm hearing voices, then it switches to other voices or conversations, like I'm skipping around. Is that something like you were talking about? Yes, and I actually, two of my family members who also have gifts hear it. It's like a television. Like I hear like so many voices. So that's one thing you can do is set your boundary. I set my boundary. I'm like, this is my bedroom. It is not open for conversation from 11 to 7. So you want to clear your home. That's one
Mhm.
thing to do. Clear your room and set your boundary like you have working hours. You can communicate with me in these hours. You're in charge. You're in control. All you have to do is set an intention. Sometimes you may have to be very firm and set that intention over and over. But that is, you're getting a lot of voices at once. And to tune into that on the other side of things, um, asking them to go one at a time and to be clear.
Mhm.
You can ask them to be louder. I'll let Molly kind of jump in on that and I'll let you know who this is from.
Yeah, I think it's starting, and again, this is about setting boundaries. So, your self-care as an intuitive whatever, whether it's a psychic, whether it's a medium, whether it's an empath, your self-care is actually really, really important. And part of that self-care is setting healthy boundaries, and that includes setting healthy boundaries around your energy and in your sleep space when you are trying to rest, because being able to get good, deep, restful sleep is really, really important because of how much energy that we expend and process. Whether it's taking in spiritual energy, or whether it's in taking other people's energy, we need that downtime.
Yeah. And then another medium friend of ours who commented, like, ask them to slow down is a great way to hear them also. Karen asked, she said, I hear high pitched tones in both ears, and I think each ear means something different. Confirmation in the right ear, but I'm not sure about the left. It seems to be signaling something physical. Is this normal? Uh, in my experience, the high pitched noises have been more of an angel frequency communication. But on the other side of things, like confirmation on right or left, like in my right ear, I hear, like, usually that's mother's side for me, and left side is father's side for me. So it may be different for you. And that's something that that that's your confirmation, on your right. And we just need to kind of tap in and tune into what your left means, and kind of maybe keep a journal on what's happening so you can look back at that pattern.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, I also know that pressure and high pitched sense in the ear. We as intuitives, again, doesn't matter what brand of intuitive we are, our instruments, which is our entire being, basically our physical body, our emotional body, our mental, and our energetic, that is going to work similarly from intuitive person to intuitive person. But at the end of the day, ultimately you are going to have things that are specific to just you. Your instrument is ultimately, like your energetic signature is ultimately unique, your instrument is ultimately going to be unique as well. So as far as gaining understanding, that's where you need to employ your discernment to try and help you figure out, what that actually means. And I do agree that journaling is a great way to start, jotting down the things that you're noticing about this, placing your awareness out around that, asking your spirit team to help give you information and help you to decipher and understand that, and then jotting those things that drop in, I think is really important.
Symbols too, like jotting down the symbols, like you're saying, the things that drop in, but a lot of those are symbols too,
Absolutely.
what things mean to you. Travis said, have either of you had a dream of someone dying? If so, how do you handle it? it feels so real to me, but I don't have a close relationship with this person. Was it just a dream? What do you think?
That's an interesting one. Dreams again are very, very personal. We develop our own symbolic dictionaries, each one of us as practitioners. So, you know, um, again, leaning into that, for yourself, I could have a dream about my loved one dying, and it could mean something entirely different than Jess or anybody else. So I think, I believe, and part of this is intuitive dropping in. You're getting indications as to what that is. It's really about trusting those. And I think that's really, for all of us as practitioners, building that trust muscle is really important as well. And it's a process. So, I, your intuition, I believe, is going to guide you really firmly on that one. Yeah, I'm feeling this very clearly, that this is something that, yeah, you're on a deeper level somewhere.
And she is intuitive. I know that about her. I know that
Hmm.
she tunes into that, but I can say on some level, and all I have are my examples to
Hmm.
kind of share the way it works for me, which is why Molly and I like doing this stuff together, because it just shows you how different it can be for each person. But
Absolutely.
I've had a dream of someone dying, yes, and
Hmm.
they did not, thank God. It was tragic. It was tragic, and I woke up feeling like I was waiting for his parents to call. And it wasn't that he was dying, it was that there was something else very serious happening.
Hmm.
So this could be symbolic. I mean, dying could be so many things. What if they're the death of the old ways, or the death of an illness? I mean, it could be so many things. So really tap into that a little bit before you know, deliver the message would be my suggestion.
Loss of a job that they identify with. There's so many things that could mean in a symbolic level.
And Barbara, on a similar note, Barbara asked, "Do you receive messages in dreams?" Yes.
I, I'm nodding affirmatively because that's a dream space is a big space to get messages. My greatest time for getting messages is in that twilight space.
Yeah.
I don't I don't have dreams very often where I remember the details. I wake up with the dream aftertaste, and occasionally that's different. But it's most of my messages are going to come in that in between space. But again, that's just how I'm wired.
Yeah. There are several people that connect with loved ones that have passed away in their dreams, and I feel like that's that the best way sometimes that they know how to get through to those of you maybe not connecting on a daily basis like Molly and I might do for work. So I guide some people to, if they're wanting that, to ask their loved ones to come in their dreams. So I feel like you absolutely can, but I agree mine's more in the twilight too. Molly, Christy asked a great question that I know you do a lot with boundaries energetically. And she said, "What are your methods for creating energy boundaries in public? Intention?"
Um, it's funny. I'll blame Molly Junker for this. I am Molly Junker is another practitioner that's done some content for Soulfire, some fabulous Sunday morning retreats, and she was talking a couple weeks ago. Actually, it may have been this last Sunday. I think the days are starting to bleed together for everybody. Um, but she was talking about the limitations of intention. And so instead to set your attention around it. So I think this is a really good area. And the reason that, she was talking about not setting intentions is because your intentions are limited by what you know. So you create this little box, But, in creating that little box, are you blocking things that you may want access to? So setting your awareness around it, asking your spirit team to work with you, and helping you to, filter out and set appropriate healthy boundaries that are going to just calm down the sizzle. I mean, I don't know how many times at the end of the day I come in, and I work in IT and I'm around computers a lot. And so I come in and just feel this sizzle all around me from all of the energy that I've picked up. So, it's really just about, engaging with the spirit team and working with them to create tools. So one of the things that I've worked with with my spirit team on is just surrounding myself in pink light, that, it still allows me to be able to do the work that I need to do, but this tool for me personally still allows, it allows the energy that I need to come in and that flow to happen while calming down the sizzle in my nerves. So I would recommend definitely working with your spirit team to try and come up with a tool that's going to work for you, that's not going to limit you, if that makes sense.
I actually love that. And I think visualizations work really well for me too with my intention slash attention. And Catherine, thank you for asking another question. Catherine asked us a question earlier that you answered, and she said, "Thank you. I'm an empath, and setting strong boundaries has always been a struggle. I'll keep working on that." And then Karen, you're welcome, and Jill, hello, and so those are so far the questions we have. If you all have more questions, please ask below. We've got some time left, but we'll just see the questions that come through. But you all are asking great questions. It's very interesting how similar they are, that you all have similar questions. So that just goes to show you that as different as Molly and I may work, and I know we work very similarly, to be honest, but our intuitions are different, and you all are finding the same things, but similar questions. So it's
Absolutely. I think everybody wound up in the same group for a reason.
Yes. Molly, you do a lot with Akashic records, right?
I do.
Can you talk a little bit to that? Because I love the soul path.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really powerful work. And if you happen to be here in Kentucky, in the local to the Louisville area, there's some really phenomenal teachers. I couldn't have asked for better teachers than I've had since I've been here in Louisville. But basically, the Akasha is essentially everything that has ever existed, ever will exist, whether it is a person, a place, a thing, a character in a book, a song in your head. Every word, every deed, every thought that has happened. From the time that our soul first sparked into existence, there is an energetic record of it that exists on this etheric plane known as the Akasha or the Akashic records. And so there's several different teachings related to how to access the Akasha. My teaching utilizes what's called a sacred prayer method. And so what we do is we say a sacred prayer, and what that helps to do is it puts us in energetic alignment and allows us to create that connection. And then we work with the Akasha on a question and answer basis. They love questions. And depending on, everybody has their own record and has their own record keepers. And so, you get to know your record keepers, and some of them, just like people, have very wry senses of humor. Some of them are very literal. Some of them love to tease. Some of them are very, very, it's always high energy. So, there's never any criticism or judgment or, expectation. There's no should that exists in the Akasha. It's always very loving and supportive and guiding, which is just, it's amazing for doing transformative and deep personal work.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I love that.
Absolutely.
Jessica asked, do you ever wrestle with a spirit that wants to give you a message that you don't want to give? Whew, that's a great question. I don't know that I wrestle with them, but I will ask them for the best way to deliver that message.
Yeah.
And I will check in to make sure I feel like, you know, it does this need to be delivered and how does this need to be delivered? Because there are plenty of times I'm saying stuff people don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But for me, it's maybe not a wrestle, but a checking in and being
Mhm.
very cautious about how I deliver the message too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you can always ask them, can you put this another way? Can you choose different words and see what comes through? One of my favorite stories actually comes from a mutual friend of ours, Ellen Jones. She always tells a story about being in a reading and working with a mother and daughter, and she's connected to spirit, and the spirit keeps giving her the word crack whore. And she's like, I don't want to say that. Can you give it to me another way? And again, the word came through, crack whore. And she's like, I really don't want to say it. And the spirit was insistent. And so finally, she delivered the message, and it was a single word, but it was the word that helped that mother and daughter know indeed that Ellen was connected to their loved one, because it was something that they joked about all the time. She used to use the woman in spirit used to use that word all the time, and it was the thing that they needed to really help understand that connection. So, you can always ask them to put things in a different way, but then there's also, you balance um, the responsibility of not delivering doom and gloom, but then there is also the fact that we are the hollow bone, we are the conduit, and so at some point there is a level of unattachment. We deliver the message and allow them to work with it, and as you can see, sometimes it works out beautifully.
And I like what you said about, and we do have a few more questions. You all are doing awesome asking questions, but I like what you said about the message. You shouldn't be delivering doom and gloom. I love working with Molly because she's able to kind of interpret some things that I say. You all know me. I'm kind of wild and crazy and things just fly. But that's exactly it. It should be an uplifting message when people come to see me as a psychic or a medium or a healer or a coach. Like you can expect to walk out uplifted. If you're not walking out uplifted, I'm concerned and feel responsibility, but also it's got to be the truth, and I will give you the truth, and it's not always what you want to hear. So
Mhm.
Chrissy says, I do notice when I sage more, the more things come to me. I love sage and I love Palo Santo. I feel like
Mhm.
it really clears out heavy energy, stagnant energy. And especially if you're going through something, whether it's an illness or something emotional, saging after to clear out that energy is really important. So, Chrissy, it may be clearing out your personal, I'm going to call it the personal crap, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it's Palo Santo and sage work to help us raise vibration, and that's kind of what's happening when we are connecting to spirit. Spirit and we are meeting in the middle. We are mediums. We are meeting in the middle, but it does require us to raise that vibration in order to make that connection. And so when you're utilizing those two things, the Palo Santo and the sage, it also helps raise the vibration in your space.
Treva says, does your body tingle or your heart race when you connect with another medium, psychic, empath, etc.? My heart races for me when I feel spirit around. I become aware because my heart's racing sometimes. Not that I can't feel them, but if my mind's going a million miles a minute, they're like, oh, let me give it to you right here, baby. Right here. And for me, I get body tingles as a confirmation, but that again, Trevor, that could be different for you. Molly, do you experience those?
I do. I totally do, and it's different for me. The heart racing and the body tingles are more of a confirmation. That's how I know I'm in alignment with what is true in that scenario. It helps me I feel clicked in, and it's like, the vibration rises, and that's when I feel that heart race, and I feel the body tingles. But I do know other people as well that get those symptoms just, in the presence of spirits. And, again, we all have similar instruments, but they're ultimately going to work a little bit differently. So, I mean, there's a variety of things that those can mean. But yeah, that sounds perfectly normal.
Yeah,
I hate using that word, but you know what I mean.
and it can absolutely be spirit being there, but yeah, connect with that for sure.
Yep.
So Jen Coyle says Rachel's watching, and hey, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
She wants to know how to reconnect with her intuition and clear blocks so she feels clearer. Do you find a daily meditation ritual would help? Yes, and come to my Monday night intuition class, 7:45, $10. Join me.
Absolutely. She's an amazing teacher. Absolutely. That's a great way. I will say too, I've been through periods, I went through a period where, when I first started development work, I was very much predominantly clairvoyant, and my ability started to shift. And when my ability started to shift, as they strengthened, and as I began to understand how I worked with spirit on a much more intimate level, I was seeing less, but I was feeling more. But in my realm of awareness, it felt like I was losing my abilities. So I think there's a place there too. And meditation is a great way to do this, but again, be open, set your attention around, is it that they are blocked, or have they shifted?
Mm-hmm.
And also think about things like stress, and the things that we need for self-care, is lack of sleep, lack of hydration, those kinds of things, are those things that need attention as well.
Sorry, I was looking down at the comments. I thought that was a perfect answer. This question is for you, actually. It says, this is from Jill. Hey, Jill. She said, so the spirit path, question mark. Is this similar to finding, whoops, it went up. Hold up. Is this similar to finding out more about past lives? Have you ever known someone who doesn't have a lot of records?
I've never run into somebody that felt like they didn't have a lot of records. Because you think about, when we're down to, the thought level, there's a lot of information there, even from a single lifetime, that you can delve into. I have found that the record keepers, somebody will ask me a question about past lives, and when I lean in, instead of showing me all of the past lives, they'll be able to hone in on what is most pertinent based on where the person is in their life and how they're currently walking, and they'll show me one particular life as opposed to several. So I've run into that, but I've never had the experience where, I felt like I was pulling a skinny book off the shelf versus this massive, tome. Because it's all equally valuable. And I think, whether they are a new soul, there's still a lot of richness in that, if that makes sense.
Are there courses? Hey, Jessica. Are there courses on how to interpret dreams? I bet that there are. And I was just thinking that I've listened to a podcast. If you'll text me, I will look up who this dream interpreter was. She's across the pond. But I will look up that information for you. But I don't. I know, I think one person locally that does dream interpretation. I'll have to get in contact with her also. But Molly, maybe you have some feedback on that.
I would be surprised to find out that there's not a class. I think YouTube is probably a great place to start. I know there's some incredible books on dream interpretation and dream dictionaries. So I think those are really, really useful.
I will say this though, when I listened to the podcast, it's been a little while, but what I found interesting about dream interpretation was the lady said typically it's related to the last few days before that dream. Like it's like a 3-day cycle, like to really pay attention to what's been going on. And when we talked about dreams earlier, we talked about where I had that dream where I saw somebody die, and
Mhm.
it was within the few days of that happening. So so I feel like hopefully that's a clue for you, but yeah, we'll look into that for sure. Hello, Kim. Kim says, I get cold chills sometimes that are like I have stuck my finger in a socket. Very intense, head to toe. I have read that that means spirit is close to you. Is that true?
I think again, everybody's systems work a little bit differently. I've heard that being interpreted as actually spiritual energy moving through a person. I do know several people that have that experience when spirit is near. Again, I have, for me, when spirit is near, my neck clenches up. But I get the cold chills like we were talking about earlier. I get the chills and the heart race when I know I'm on the right path. So you know our instruments may be wired a little bit differently, but yeah, that again, it sounds like that very could possibly be the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So Barbara asked, could it be possible that the anxiety I often feel is someone trying to communicate with me? I've always felt the presence of something near me, even as a child. I feel I have abilities I don't know how to use. I feel like absolutely. And I will say a lot of people are feeling a lot of anxiety right now because it's a universal anxiety. Like we tap in as a community, and just for an example, like things that have shifted in our universe politically
Mhm.
and with this illness, like these big shifts, I felt like one day I was like, why am I so depressed? And I was like, oh, we just had a major shift in our political, blah, blah, blah. I won't go into that, but it
Yeah,
was a major universal shift. So you're feeling not just, it's not necessarily spirit. It could be somebody in your house. It could be spirit communicating with you. And it sounds like you do get that communication. That's something that, again, Molly and I both teach on intuition one-on-one. I teach a Monday night class, but those are things we love to work with people on. I really feel like teaching people about their intuition is teaching you how to be your own psychic, to be your own medium, to use these tools to make decisions in your life. It's not about being a medium like I am. It's about what's going to better you and lift you up spiritually and help you make decisions in life. So I think it's good that you're paying attention to that.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree.
I love this next question. So I do a lot of past life regression, but Molly does a lot with the Akashic records. So, and I know that this question, because we've been talking about that, is about this, but do we experience our lives with the same people?
Ooh.
Ah,
Um, the way that the records have shown me and the way that it is experienced is that there is kind of a soul family, a soul constellation that travels, through lifetimes together. They may not wind up in the physical in the same relationship structure, but they land in a structure that's going to help them best fulfill their spiritual contracts, their karmic contracts with one another. So if they are to help each other grow and experience life fully, they might wind up in a romantic partnership in one lifetime and wind up as adversaries in another, depending on the lessons and such that are that you incarnated to learn in that lifetime.
awesome. And Barbara said, thank you for answering her question that she's going to check into classes and things like that. So,
Awesome.
um, So we'll give you all a few more minutes. It looks like we finished up the questions we have so far, but while we're waiting to see if there are a few more questions, we're not going to be on here too much longer. But we will do this again. And for those of you intuitives out there, if you want to hop on an interview with Molly or myself, or maybe both of us, let's have a little fun. We're ready. Let's schedule a time to do that in Soulfire.
Absolutely.
This has been the most fun yet.
This has been a lot of fun. Absolutely. We just found this new platform today.
Yes,
So it's working like a charm.
we have some things going on tomorrow night. I know that at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be talking about intuitive eating. What else do we have tomorrow night?
I am doing my rescheduled from Sunday, my talk about setting sacred space. So I'll be doing that at 8 tomorrow.
I'm excited for that. And then Friday night, Dave Vickers will be live from England to do some medium and psychic readings, I believe. So that'll be amazing. I love working with Dave. Dave is hilarious. I love his humor. I love him and his wife. So please join in for that. Saturday night will be music with Kat Hill again. If you all haven't joined in for that, Kat is her music is beautiful. She's live from Nashville. She writes her music, and she always plays Landslide for me, which connects me to my dad. So I'm always grateful for that. And then I'll do live readings Saturday night at 9. And then what else do we have anything else planned? Oh, I have new moon ceremony next week, but what else do you have?
I was going to say, I think we've got, I had an hour scheduled earlier this evening. That was, clear communication. I had to think for a second. What's it called? It's clear communication, using your five psychic senses to deliver meaningful messages from spirit. So that was originally scheduled for tonight. I ran into some massive technical issues. So we are going to reschedule that for probably either Sunday or early next week.
Cool. So Karen asks, how do I get more info about your class on Monday nights? Karen, you can message me here on Facebook. You can go to my website, jessicatanselle.com. But just so you all know, I do it every Monday. Right now, it's all virtual. It's at 7:45. It's $10, and I send you a link for the group. And then you can look on my website because I do that work one-on-one. Molly, what do you have anything you want to input about that or what you offer?
I do offer one-on-one intuitive development and mediumship development. So you can always reach out to me. Probably the easiest thing to do would be to reach out to me through Facebook Messenger right now. So you can always contact me that way. I'm also doing teaching offerings through Soulfire right now. So we do have a couple in the archives that you can go back and see. I did one on clairsentience last week. But I'll be posting things as we go along.
Cool. I love, and there's some really precious nuggets in this group. So go back to the videos and just see if it resonates for you. Watch it if you'd like, but it's been a lot of fun. So Travis said, thank you so much. I feel better after listening to you both. I'm in my happy place. I'll schedule with you soon. I'm just glad that you're in your happy place. Thank you for sharing that. Hello, Jimena. And then Karen, we are in the Eastern time zone. Welcome to the East Side. We're in the Eastern time zone. So I'm not sure what time zone you're in, but right now it is 9:51 p.m. here. Jill said about the class. Thanks, Jill. She said it's really great for us beginners. So and we have all levels in the class. We've got people from Alaska to Kentucky. So it's been really fun and amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been cool. Karen said, thank you. Jimena, thank you. Maddie Carlisle, I would love to know more. Okay, Maddie, tell me what you want to know. We've got a few more minutes here. So we're finishing up a little bit. We'll see if any other questions come through. But Molly, anything else you want to share?
My poor brain is so fried. This has been a lot of fun.
Let's hope we get people to interview, but it would be fun. We should do this at least once a week. Let's do it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think that that's everything for now, looking at the live feed. So,
You know what? I will. Oh goodness, it popped right in my head again. That piece earlier. Oh, we were talking about permission earlier and permission regarding reading. I remember I had a piece that had dropped in and then flew right back out again. Um, just to kind of add a little bit more information since that just dropped in, we were talking about dipping into people's energy without their express permission. One of the things that I wanted to tack on to that message was also getting permission before delivering messages, making sure that the person in front of you, unless they've scheduled a reading with you and are sitting in front of you for that express purpose, again, even with our best filters up and our best intentions, stuff's still going to drop in. We're still going to get information, whether it's empathically, whether it's, via spirit, it's still going to drop in. And so, even if it is the most amazing nugget of wisdom you've ever heard in your life, it's still important to approach that person and ask for their permission, because ultimately they may not be in a place where they can receive it. And I think it's up to us to, as healing practitioners, energetic practitioners, to respect that. So that was the other thing I wanted to add.
that comes in very handy because we both read for large groups of people. And that's, I'm going to be out west reading for large groups of people who are coming to see me. Some may come more for entertainment and not want a message. So I think that's a really important message. And I think let's finish up on this question. I just want to know tips for beginners. She said, I would love to know more. And she said, I just want to know tips for beginners. And so my tips for beginners are to be curious about what you're feeling, to keep
Mm-hmm.
a journal each day, to when you're feeling a lot of emotion, ask if it's yours and ask for anything that's not yours to be released. And if you're feeling spirit near and you want to connect, you be curious there. Who are you? Why are you here? And also setting your boundaries on if you don't want to communicate. It is okay to ask them to guide, hey, I don't want to communicate with you, but if you want to guide your loved one to a medium, they will. Your
Yeah.
loved ones will guide them to a medium. They will find it one way or another, and sometimes by surprise. So that those are my tips. And definitely, as in my beginning stages of this, I took classes. I worked one-on-one with mentors. I traveled and studied with mentors. It really depends on what you're looking, how much you're looking to explore.
Yeah. No, I think those are perfect. The only thing that I would add is, as you are exploring, curiosity, like Jessica said, is key. I think, this is something that can be really fun and unfold into a really beautiful experience. But when it comes to spirit communication, there's a vast spectrum of energy out there that you can work with, and most of us early on, as we start delving into development, start feeling pulled, in a particular direction as to what we want to work with. So set, again, awareness around, that question, or that, you know, trying to understand where your work is, and then setting your boundaries around that. Do you want to work with, you want to work with guides and angels? Do you want to work with, deceased loved ones? Do you want to work with, maybe you want to work with crossing over earthbound spirits? And it may be a multitude of things, but I do think that if you aren't clear, things can get a little muddy, and you wind up in an opportunity, or in a situation like Jess was describing earlier, where you might have an energy drop in that you don't want to communicate with. So knowing that that is outside of the work that you want to do, setting those boundaries, again, setting, that intention or that attention around, your guides, helping that energy move in a way that will allow their loved ones here to connect with a medium, and do the communicating, a medium that's more in their line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I said we were going to finish up with that, but it was somebody asked if we should ask out loud, and I typically ask in my mind, like I'm having that inner dialogue, and that's often how I hear my messages, is like an inner dialogue in my own voice. And to initiate that, I just start with a question like, "Who are you?" Or "Are you male or female?" Or "Why are you here?" You can ask anything you want, and that's just the best way to initiate that. So thanks for asking that. So,
Absolutely.
thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Jess. This was so much fun.
Great. You guys, if you have anything that you would like to see in Soulfire, message Molly and or myself. If one of you would like to interview with us and have fun, let's have a party.
Absolutely.
We can bring wine. We can bring bourbon. We can have more. I mean, I'm over
That's
here,
right.
but let's have a party.
Spirits with Spirits happy hour.
Hey, Spirits with Spirits is my jam. I do that. I do have that party. I had that at Chateau Bourbon with Missy Hillock. It was
I
fantastic.
love it. I love it. That's awesome.
So, but yes, let us know, and we'll see when we do this next. But I think next week I would love to do this again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.